solid rectangle of a kind of orchid hue in the black light. It was the only place on the entire horse. A perfect rectangle coming from the forehead. Could you use your hunting knife? And could you carefully cut out this rectangle? I would really like to get it studied by a variety of people. And he was very nice and cut it out, and we put it in a folded bag. And what I could do, and talk with scientists about doing this, is I cut off a piece that went to a psychometrist who worked with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in Canada. I cut off another piece that went to Adams State. That I kept another piece that was preserved in a refrigerator, not a freezer, a refrigerator. I got a call from the psychometrist in Canada, and one of his first questions to me was, what kind of fire was there? I said, what do you mean? He said, I can't pick this up without seeing a blast of white light. And he said, I'm assuming it's a fire. The woman at Adams State College, I called her. It was about a week after I had talked with, and neither one of them knew. I always keep things compartmentalized, so they didn't know anything about who else I was investigating with. I called up the investigator who was working with the archaeology department in Adams State, and what she would do is pick up pottery shards, hold them, and tell the scientists, because she had this gift, she'd see the movies when she would pick up different pottery, and they knew that she was so good that she was giving them information that they were then going and reinforcing with investigations and finding whole new things because of this woman's ability to see the movies of the use of the shards. So when I called her, because she had asked to have some time with it, so I didn't have to be there, and she, literally the same question as the psychometrist in Canada. Linda, what was the fire? And now I know I don't want to cross-pollinate from him. I said, what do you mean? What do you see? And she said, tremendous white fire, but what puzzles me is it's cold. It's freezing. It looks like white fire, but it's freezing. And then she went on and said, and I see something that I don't recognize. It's small. It's not much taller than 3 feet. There are 2 of them. They seem to be working for something else that is there in charge. And they are there. This is exactly what she said. They are there to gather sustenance from, in this case, it was a cow, or a horse, the horse, to gather sustenance for whatever is in charge of them, but they are not in charge. These small, childlike things that I see are doing the work. That goes all the way back to 1980. March 25th, 1980 is when A Strange Harvest first broadcast in the CBS station in Denver. And that's what a psychometrist who was working for Adams State College got. And the psychometrist in Canada ended up sending me a report. He was not as clear on what was generating the white, but he had this sense of fire, and eventually, I think when I got his report, he thought that the temperature was strange because he expected heat, and she immediately had said about her confusion. Now, people will say, well, psychometry doesn't prove anything. And proof is a difficult game in terms of getting things that are indisputably proving what it is doing in mutilations. But I feel that I have collected enough tissue. I've worked with pathologists, I've worked with veterinarians on necropsies. I've worked with microscopes that can look at tissue and define that it has been heated, but there's no carbon. The list goes on and on. Doing the soil compression tests where animals, one after another, in various parts of the country and Canada would be found having dropped from a height to the ground. And it is a genuine phenomenon that I think is related to the collection of genetic material to create container bodies to be used by, let's just say, a variety of non-human intelligences. Camouflage, container bodies, and sustenance. And the most consistent type throughout all of the people that I have talked to and interviewed that uses the extractions from the animals around the world for sustenance are the reptilian beings. And if I felt there was a threat, I would have reported that a long time ago, meaning to humans and ranchers. I have interviewed a lot of ranchers who have just been scared to death when they saw a beam come down into a pasture, saw an animal being lowered in the beam or being taken up in the beam. But nothing ever happened to them or their family. So I cannot guarantee, and I cannot prove what these three competing extraterrestrial civilizations might do in the rest of this century. But I think the fact that we are here, we've been through tremendous wars as a species on this planet. There seems to be a lot of consciousness and energy of moving away from war if possible. That would be a great step. Prove those blondes that felt they could make us better. But I don't see a reason for us to be afraid. I think this is one of those pivotal revolutionary moments. Everything is changing. Everything is changing. And we need to have a handshake with the good guys out there who have believed in us, who love us, who want to protect us, no matter what else is out there. Hang on to that. I love you guys, and I'll see you next Wednesday.
Turn on closed captions for YouTube videos by clicking the white CC button on the lower right. The default language for Linda's videos is English. If you would like to see the captions in another language, click on the white settings button next to the CC button. Select Subtitles CC and then select Auto Translate. Select a language and the captions will now appear in that language.
Sort of gone through and they will hold their heads. I never had a cat do that before. And they'll pull against the cone, helping me get out snarls. And I think it's the best they've ever been.
In the vast reaches of space exist objects and phenomena as bizarre as any science fiction writer's imagination.
There are so many extremes in space that it's really hard for a human being here on planet Earth to imagine a lot of them.
Picture a particle that can pass right through you. A missing planet lurking in our own solar system. And clouds filled with the alkaline